Today, let's have a simple conversation about cryptocurrency, blockchain, not on some high tower type of level, talking down, trying to confuse you. But for those of you who think maybe even cryptocurrency is nonsense, the blockchain is just a bunch of hocus pocus, what I want to do is have a conversation for all of you, people who care about your financial future, people who want to control their own financial destiny, people who might need to worry about their own careers. I want to talk to you in plain English about conversations that I've been having, some things that I'm seeing, what's going on with large financial institutions like ours, how are we interpreting the volatility that we've seen in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies this week. So first of all, let's talk about cryptocurrency in general. And the week that we've seen things plunging 30, 40% like Bitcoin, rising a little bit, obviously, and that's transcended across all the different coins, ETHEREUM and down to the small coins, even Dogecoin that we've seen get beat up this week. So, I'm not going to talk so much about Elon Musk, of what's going on with him taking or not taking cryptocurrency as forms of payment. What I'll kind of do is leave this with you on that, though. When you understand what's going on and how Tesla profits, the fact that they get credits from the government in order to produce their vehicles, is there just maybe a chance that someone might have influenced them regarding cryptocurrency not to take that? Is there some interest in following what government regulations are if you're dependent on those regulations to subsidize your business? Potentially, just a thought. But let's talk maybe about big governments. I think it's the bigger issue with crypto. We heard China saying, oh, we're not going to take cryptocurrency. We don't want any organizations, companies taking cryptocurrency. Well, first of all, guys, China's been against cryptocurrency for a very long time. They're a communist country. They want to control anything. You can't even, I spent weeks in China. You can't even use Google in China. So the fact that they're barring information from getting to their people, do you think a foreign currency that allows them to be independent of China is going to be something that they give a blessing to? More than likely not. But let's talk about that even with our own government. Well, when you look at fiat currencies like the dollar, when you think about it, has a tremendous amount of control over all of us. All of our livelihoods are dependent on that dollar, right? How we keep a roof over our head, how we buy clothes, how we send our kids to school. Whether we prosper or don't prosper is really tied to how much money we have in the bank. That money equals freedom, it equals choice. The less of that, the less freedom and choice we have. And so when you look at it from the standpoint of the government, first of all, the Fed controls monetary policy, meaning how much money gets put into the economy. The value of that dollar, which is the money being put into the economy, is really just the fact that it is currently the reserve currency. Currently, we believe there's value in that. But remember, back to 1971, we got off the gold standard. The gold standard used to mean that we were actually tied. When we printed that dollar, every dollar was tied to a certain weighting in gold. And remember, a lot of reasons why other countries adopted the dollar as the reserve currency way back then, because it was actually an indirect way of adopting gold. So once we got off that, though, the accountability to anyone, including us, for the dollar was really just set to our government. But we're beholden upon that dollar and the government to tell us what interest rates are, meaning how easy is it for us to borrow, how little is it to us to borrow, what type of interest do we get on our money once it's put into the money market. And then our whole financial system essentially is set up, brokerage firms, banks, lending based off of that dollar and government regulation. And so we need all of this structure to be in place. Now, there are some good parts about that in terms of having an override to make sure you don't have extreme volatility and fluctuations like we're seeing with Bitcoin right now. So that's the good part. The bad part is there's zero accountability to the people for this dollar. So we've all been complaining for years and years about the Fed printing money and how it's crazy, and all these different poor policies that are out there, but no one's really done anything about it because we really couldn't. Lo and behold, some really smart people start creating the blockchain. They start creating cryptocurrencies. And what does that do? Well, the blockchain allows for a decentralized financial system to essentially be set up. What cryptocurrency does is it actually establishes a currency on that blockchain to be able to transact, buy businesses, buy goods and services. Well, wait a second. Is this a whole entire economy now that's being established in a safe and secure, and I don't even want to say arguably, a more efficient way to do business, transfer money, buy assets than what we currently have? And oh, by the way, is that independent of what our Fed has control over currently? Well, it is. And so I could sit here and really talk to you for hours about the ramifications of this decentralized financial system, DeFi, becoming the main financial system, and cryptocurrency being adopted around the world as a new reserve currency. When you look at the history of currencies, the dollar is a little bit long in the tooth. And when you start thinking about what could be the new reserve currency, I used to scratch my head and think, what country is in a better position than the US? Everybody's printing money, but then wait, there's cryptocurrency that has some accountability. When you look at Bitcoin, there's a finite amount of Bitcoin that actually could be mined, and we're getting towards the end of that. And because that's slowly decreasing how much you can mine, we're really able to tie a tangible value to that, very similar to gold. And we've got Ethereum that's now throughout the blockchain creating other, let's call them apps, just for lack of understanding for most people, of how we can create now smart contracts to do business, put things on the blockchain to be able to transact and buy. And so when you think about what's going on with cryptocurrency and the volatility that it's experiencing, a lot of which, I was on CNBC. If you look, we're going to post this. Actually, I think it was posted Wednesday. I was talking about the volatility. They said, well, what do you think about regulatory risk? Well, regulatory risk is a real risk in the short run because the government controls so much, right? But over the long run, the question is, has the train already left the station? Is this so far gone now that we're going to have to, as governments, central banks around the world like China, start to talk it down because we're afraid of losing control? Now, those of you guys who know me, I am not a conspiracy theorist at all, but I am someone who's educated. I am someone who deals and is owned by a company that manages over $200 billion in global assets. So I am someone in my industry who's going to step up and say, this is a real issue. Why is JP Morgan creating their own crypto token? Now, I know Jamie Dimon's been hot and cold about cryptocurrency, but the fact of the matter is, I've been talking with people for the past several months, extremely smart people who are doing business on the blockchain through cryptocurrencies. And I'm here to tell you that cryptocurrencies are here to stay. Which cryptocurrency is going to be the winner and loser, I don't know. Nobody knows. And again, I'm not having this conversation to be a crypto expert. I know a lot of very, very smart people who are much more educated on cryptocurrencies than me. And I can tell you, even they don't fully understand where this is going. It's way too early. But that's not the value here. The value here is to give you some perspective of, why is there the volatility? Because the government's talking it down. People are nervous right now. They don't fully understand what they own. And why does the government have incentive? And when I say government, not just US, around the world, why are they incentivized to do this? Well, it's because they want to have control, and it makes sense. And I'm not saying that control over society, people, is completely a bad thing. There's rule of law and all those things. What I'm saying is, they're not necessarily taking a surgical approach. They don't know how. And so when you have this shotgun approach of crypto good, crypto bad, that's probably not what's going to happen in the long run. So what I want to tell you is, you're going to see a lot of volatility because you're going to see a lot of governments who've had no accountability for a very long time now, that are starting to be pressed up to a point in a corner where they're going to need to start having accountability, kicking and screaming. It's just like children. If you allow them to eat ice cream all the time, when you want to shove broccoli in front of them, they're going to push back on you. So get ready and get prepared for a lot more pushback. You're going to hear about higher taxes and all these things in an attempt to dissuade you from opening your mind and trying to learn about, could there be alternative currencies? Could there be a potential new way of financing things, of earning money? Could there be a whole decentralized financial system that may actually be better? Just a concept you want to think of. And I want you to understand why there's some volatility. And I want you to understand why there's going to be more and more people coming out against it. Now, let's talk about the blockchain. The blockchain, let's just talk about it as a decentralized ledger of everything that's kind of going on. When you think about when you give your money to the bank, they don't have a Mr. Jones holding tank over there where we say, oh, Mr. Jones just deposited 20 grand, let's go throw 20 grand in there. No, it's a ledger that is basically an accountability of what they owe you, right? But we believe that JP Morgan or Bank of America or Citibank is going to do a good job of protecting that. And obviously that's regulated by the government to make sure, at least within certain limits, that our money is there, irrespective of runs on the bank. But if we all went to the bank at one time, therein lies the run on the bank. That money is not there. It's lent out, it's borrowed. They're never going to be able to give that money back to you if we all came to the door at the same time. So the idea about this decentralized ledger on blockchain is that those assets are really there and validated, right? And so when you start creating systems in which you could, let's say, put your home on the blockchain and your tax records there, whatever it is, the title is there, and you could actually go and transact and buy and sell with clear title and all those things on the blockchain in a matter of seconds a home. Well, what does that do to title agents, escrow agents, maybe the people that are traditionally funding those loans now? If you have competitive people bidding for that through the blockchain, and there's businesses which are being created now to facilitate that. New businesses, guys, today, as you know, I talk to new business startups all the time, are being created on the blockchain to displace a lot of you. Today, if you're just a transactor of anything, if you're just doing transactions, if you're an order taker and you're not adding value, get prepared to be put out of business. The blockchain in general, in which cryptocurrency operates, is going to put people out of business. That's another thing that the government's worried about. What worries me about that most is third-party intermediaries, people that are professional middlemen, don't necessarily have additional skill sets when they're displaced. So when we talk about this wealth gap in the United States, I see the wealthier getting wealthier, and I see the poorer getting poorer unless you educate yourself on this. That's why I have my academy. That's why today I'm spending so much time trying to understand blockchain, because I don't want to be another Blockbuster when Netflix comes around. And a lot of you are going to be Blockbuster. The ones of you who are saying, I don't want to own any cryptocurrency. I don't want to at least open my mind to it. Oh, the blockchain, yeah, that sounds cool. Well, it's coming. It's happening. It's not going to sound cool when the door shuts and it's a padlock locking you out of your home because you couldn't pay the rent because you didn't want to open your eyes and ears of what's going on. It's kind of like if I tried talking to you in 1990 about Google, just this mysterious concept. You would have never believed that you'd be able to get the amount of information in 1 second at a click of a mouse that Google is able to provide to you. Now, what goes into all that, if I talked about codes and everything, it's extremely complex. But once I showed you a search box and all you had to do was know how to type and you understood the power of Google, well, you quickly adopted it, didn't you? Well, that's what's going to be happening with the blockchain. It's going to be just like a Google search box soon, but that Google search box is going to put people out of business. It's going to get governments aren't going to be too happy about it. A lot of things are coming your way. So the idea today, guys, what I wanted to do is just get you to open your eyes and ears. I'm going to be bringing experts into my academy. I'll try to get some of them onto Wealth Talk that are educating me to educate some of you what you should be aware of. But this is analysis that I'm using now today with my team when I'm consulting with entrepreneurs, When I'm investing, there's a lot of businesses I would have invested in 12 months ago, but because I know what's coming, I have no intention on investing in them now, especially the ones that are not adopting new processes and are not forward thinking. Because what I could tell you for someone who's been managing large amounts of money for 2 decades now is when I first started, the speed of change was fast. Things happen quick. Today, things happen instantaneously. So if you think you have this long runway to take your time and, oh, that'll be okay, it's not going to happen. It's going to be here before you know it. So what I want you to know is there's going to be a lot of people talking down the blockchain, talking down cryptocurrency. You may be someone right now who thinks you don't need to understand it. You have to start understanding it. You have to start asking yourselves, how am I going to adapt to it? How am I going to adapt my career, my business, my portfolio? Those are questions. And if you don't have answers and you need education, you better find somebody you trust. Because the people that have vested interest in the old way of doing things are going to be telling you, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's okay. And probably those are people who are 60, 65 years old, and maybe they've already made their money and they're ready to pull the ladder out. They don't want things to change, because what if the dollar goes away and all their riches are based off of the dollar? Like, nobody wants that. There's a lot of people who are against this change and this movement that's going on right now. So again, I want you to be aware of it. I want you to start educating yourself. I want you to understand at least and give you some ideas. Don't take it for face value, but think, maybe is there something to this? And when you start thinking about, was this conspiracy theory? Well, it's really not even that theoretical. It's happening if you open your eyes and you ask the right questions. So that's a little bit today on blockchain and on cryptocurrency. I wanted to get you guys thinking. I hope it did just that. Hey, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Let's get the news out. Let's get some more people on here. If you know somebody who could benefit from unbiased, real talk that you could understand and act on, please. And if you haven't, sign up, follow me on Instagram @TheLunaRob. I appreciate all you guys. Have a great weekend.